Over there. Hi, how are you? Good to you.
He's just using the washroom.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, that's not the room? Okay. Oh, my. We are shopping. Food. All right, so I'm so hungry. This is Ghana. I am going to eat fish because I'm that hungry. I don't care. Death to vegan. Almost 13 years. This is my food for today. My first Ghana meal. Reese feels nice. Right. We on our way to Cape Coast Castle. Okay.
all right, sir. So I'll be your driver, commander.
Hello, Isaac. Oh, I'm upset. It's some bull. The driver tried to, the company tried to overcharge us for taking us to the place and then want to charge us to fill up his gas tank. I tell you one thing, being an American traveling in other countries, especially the countries that are less fortunate than us, they will try to take advantage of you. They think that money grows on trees and that you're just the richest person out there. So we have reserved this driver, not this guy right here, but we had the driver, the previous one, Isaac, reserved. The Airbnb host knew him. He was highly recommended. But when he came, it was one of those. So the plan was for him to take us to Cape Coast Castle. Cape Coast Castle was about 3 hours away from where we were. He didn't mention anything about filling up his tank to take us. He was going to be with us all day. And plus we had to pay the fee itself. So we're paying a fee in addition to filling up his tank. And it was like, no, that don't sound right. You know, we're going to pay either or the other. You know, I didn't mind filling up the tank if we didn't have to pay a fee on top of that. So, no, it's not going to work. So, it just turned into one of those disappointments. And the vehicle we ended up in, it was okay. That guy turned out to be cool. He took us and he sat with us the whole time. He didn't try to get over us or anything like that. He just charged a straight up fee and just kept it moving. He stayed and he brought us back to Accra. And that was it. So he was very honest about everything. But the other company and the other guy, and they tried to make us pay just for sitting in the car. Nah, I don't think so.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Straight to the gentleman on the seats. In Ghana, pretty much the only thing I wanted to do was to go to the Cape Coast Castle. It's a lot of stuff to do in Ghana. I would probably need a good 1 month to cover a lot of things. You got the nightlife, you got just so much that you can do in Ghana. But for this trip, I really just wanted to go to Cape Coast Castle because of the distance from Accra going, and then you just get a little time there and then going back before it gets dark and stuff like that. That's all I really wanted to do. So we had 1 day assigned for this particular trip. We were waiting for the tour guide lady to come
to give us a tour of the castle. We just walked around. The moment I walked through after we made the payments and stuff like that, the moment I walked through, it was something that touched my spirit. And instantly, I started tearing up before the tour guide lady even gave us a tour. And when she gave us the tour, it just really, it even made it worse for us. So right here, we had just entered the men's dungeon.
And the women did not have a bathroom or a washroom, and so they had to leave their waste materials on the floors. And because of that, diseases and infections such as malaria, cholera, dysentery were common amongst the captives. Some captives even died whilst in the dungeons. I said ironically because these were a people that were preaching a universal religion. Preaching, do not steal, do not kill, love your neighbor as yourself. They had captives down here. They worshipped right above. And we noticed something different here. We have light. So there was light here because this chamber was also the sorting or the separating chamber. Now, due to the insanitary conditions in here, by the time the ships came, some captives would be sick, others would remain strong. And so they used this light to separate stronger captives from the sick. And those who were sick were kept over there in that corner. They were kept there to receive medical care so that those who survived would join the next ships. Those who died were dumped in the ocean. Then those who were strong, after being separated, they went to their ships through a tunnel. So the only entrance to the male slave dungeon was the entrance that we all used. But then the exit was a huge tunnel. And behind me, behind the structure, was the entrance of the tunnel. So the male captives had to walk through the entrance. They got to the exit of the tunnel and then to the door of no return. We have a belief that although those who died in here had their bodies dumped in the ocean, their souls are still here with us.
Okay, I had to pause this part. I was the last person leaving out from the group. I felt like a presence or something behind me. It was so weird. Like I'm walking and instantly when we were like right at the exit of the tunnel, my camera stopped when I looked back. And I was like, what the heck just happened? I was holding my phone a certain way, and the way that I was holding my phone, it wasn't a way for me to press stop or anything. So the video recording stopped. I wasn't afraid or anything. I was just wondering, like, how did that happen? I had to restart over recording once we got out of
This is the door of no return, the door that separated many of our ancestors from their homeland. This is where many began their journey to the African diaspora. It was during the first ever Emancipation Day celebration. So this is the male condemned cell, where the male captives were brought to be punished. Now, because of the various means of acquiring the captives, they had criminals, they had warriors, they had prominent people. They had people from all walks of life being captured and enslaved. And these people had been taken from their homes. They had been separated from their families. They had walked for miles. Imagine walking from Accra or Timbuktu to Cape Coast. Some drowned in rivers, some died out of tiredness, some were attacked by animals. Some had not even seen the ocean before, so they lived in the Sahara. This was different to them. And they did not know what awaited them. worst of all, they had been enslaved. And so these men resisted in so many forms. Unfortunately, all the male captives that resisted or fought for their freedom had a punishment. That punishment was death by starvation and suffocation. So once a male captive resisted, he would be brought in here to the male condemned cell. And at that time, they had 3 doors that were shut on them. The men were left in there deprived of food, deprived of water. There was no ventilation in the male condemned cell. I want us to go in there for a few seconds and then we come back. I'm going to close the door. Is that fine? Fine. Please watch your head as you go in after you. Hey! So you watch your head throughout all the doors.
Oh, correct.
The British left the dead in there with the living until the last person amongst them died. Before all the bodies were brought out and dumped in the ocean. Did you understand what she said?
No, I just read a body language. Marcus Garvey once said, "A people without knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots." I'm thankful that I had this opportunity because so many people may never get this opportunity to go back to where their roots started. Honestly, I don't know if my roots started from the Cape Coast Castle or if it started from another point in Africa. We read a lot of this stuff in books and you see it on the internet and stuff like that, but it's really nothing like actually being there. That night ended with a flat tire, and we had angels riding with us because he was riding with that flat tire for about an hour.